All right. I am so happy to be here with you, Yuli.
So
Welcome to the space in
excited.
between. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Such a pleasure. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. We've only known each other for a few months. You were hosting an event in the Hudson Valley, which we're going to talk a lot about this event and what you're doing. But I'll just mention, when you were hosting this event, I saw the event and I was like, oh, thank goodness, because the Hudson Valley is near and dear to my heart. I've been there for about 13 or 14 years now and been in that healing community for so long, but I felt there was this need again to bring people together. And so when I saw you bringing this together, it's like, ah, thank you. And then when we were sitting in that circle, it was just so special. And I felt an instant connection to you. And here we are now building this beautiful relationship. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words, and I felt the same way. And that evening was so special. The evening you're talking about, it was our very first healer circle
Mhm.
that we hosted last September. And it was, in a way, the local launch of HEALLIST and our community. It was just I still remember it and very vividly. And you have no idea how many people come up to me and tell me I remember that event because there were just, like you said, there was nobody bringing healers together in a circle just to create this kind of safe container where they can share, they can learn together, they can just connect. And there was definitely something magical, and we're continuing the tradition. And since then, we've hosted quite a few. But that first night, I agree with you. There was just this magical energy when, connected souls like discover each other for
Mhm.
the first time. And we were all kind of in our orbits, right?
Mhm.
Living close by, but we never actually connected in the circle. And
Yeah.
it's just like it was this like electrical event, right? Once you put all the different elements together and they just click, the circuit and just clicks, right? And starts wiring electrons. This is, I think, what happened. And
Yeah.
it's just been, and we can talk more. I'm very much into 5D, 4D, you name it. But, working with those energies on a
Mhm.
business level has been like one of the most exciting parts of my journey.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to dive deep into that. But somehow we ended right there already, but
Yeah,
we said we're
exactly.
going to dive in. So,
Well, we're in the space in between, which is all
yes,
in the multidimensional realms. So,
yes.
yeah, so before we're talking about that beautiful magical event and moving forward. I'd love to go back and hear a little bit more about, well, first of all, HEALIST, what HEALIST is and what you envision it to become, but where did it come from? Where did you give birth to HEALIST and why?
Ah, that's one of my favorite stories. And our lives are just so magical. And the way things unfold are just, fascinating. And I think that's why your podcast is so interesting because, so many of us are in between, and those spaces in between don't always feel safe because there's a lot of unknown. And I'm reading an incredible book right now by Michael Singer called The Surrender Experiment.
Hmm.
And if you haven't read it yet, it's just a must. Like just cover how his life journey unfolded, and I see myself a lot in it. But Healist, just to give you what it is now, and then I'll share you how it all unfolded.
Mhm.
Healist and my mission is actually to support holistic healers in everything that relates to business, technology, marketing. This is the brainchild that I was hoping for that will allow me to combine all of my decades of being in the tech space, in the marketing space, building businesses, selling businesses, being entrepreneur, and finally coming home to the place of healing that was always part of my life, but it was the separate part of me. There was the business person, and then there was the I don't know, the person that was seeking deep healing and going on retreats and working with incredible teachers and reading every possible book I can put my hands on, but they never combined together. And with HEALLIST, it was just such a aha moment for me to bring together all my passions and create a platform that has this robust technology backend that can run the entire practice for a holistic practitioner or a teacher or wellness expert, whoever you are, but also have this supportive community of healers that really come together just like we do in the circles, whether we do it in person or virtually, it works the same way.
Mhm.
And the third piece is education, which I'm super passionate about. And throughout my life, I'm just this lifelong learner. And I think there are just so many skills out there that, we need, and especially healers need, and a lot of them don't come necessarily from a background of business or marketing or technology. And this is where I felt our opportunity was also not just provide the tools, not just provide the community, but also help elevate the skills, because this is what's going to elevate this entire industry,
Mhm.
right? And bring it to the level that it needs to be, and the level of care, the level of professional conduct and business conduct, and the level of marketing, everything. There's just so much opportunity in this space, but we really need to step up on all those other areas to really offer an offering that, I don't want to say the word compete with traditional medicine, right? And what else is out there as an option for people these days when it comes to healing. But in order to be an equally presentable offer,
Yeah.
we have to get to that level. And this is a big mission, and a lot parts of me were always kind of, conflicted. Do we have to do it all? Can we just do technology, or can we just do community, or can we just do education? And the answer was always, and I think this is part of my personality, why can't we do it all? So this is what I live with every day. It's like all those different, parts of me that I feel really passionate about. And I think we found a way to combine them all together and have this offering that has all of that, is truly a platform. Really, the way I see it, like I'm imagining someone who just got their certificate in, let's say, energy healing, or just finished a holistic school. Where do they go?
Yeah.
And I want to be there to support them from day one. And this is here it is. This is
Yeah.
your platform. This is where you launch your business. We have all the tools. You don't need to figure out anything. We
Mhm.
have your business page, we have your booking tools, we have your payments processing, we have your telehealing here all in one. Just you can literally launch your business in 5 minutes. So that was the dream, that was the inspiration. But how I got there, it was a really, I mean, if you told me that that's where I would end up, I would never imagine. But not to go too far back, but for those of you wondering about my accent, I was actually born in the communist Russia
Mm.
back in the 70s. And so 15 years of my life were pretty insane. I mean, I think Americans especially know, kind of have a vision of that Cold War Russia, but I
Yeah.
don't think it come close to what it really was.
Mm.
A lot of my childhood memories are actually still in black and white, strangely, because this is kind
Mm.
of like the what I remember that, and when I really grew up in the 80s, it was a really rough time. There was like food stamps, there was a shortages of food. It was very much survival mode, I would, to say the least, probably,
Yeah.
right? And in addition to that, I was half Jewish. So I was growing up as this kind of like the only Jewish child in this very uh, gray and challenging environment. And we had an opportunity to, anti-Semitism was a big part of my childhood, unfortunately. And in 91, when the borders have opened, we had an opportunity to move to Israel because that was the only country that will accept us as
Mm.
refugees. And at that point, it became a little dangerous for me as a child. To be there. And then my parents made the big step of actually moving to Israel in 91. But, first it seemed like this perfect paradise place that we arrived to with palm trees and with sea and beach and all of that. But very quickly, the war had escalated and we found ourselves in the war zone, kind of like what you're seeing today, what's happening, not to
Yeah.
get too much into politics, but, it's a conflict that's been going on for years, and I've lived that conflict. Um, really, even living in the middle of Tel Aviv as a young girl, you're in your 20s, you're trying to live your life, and enjoy it, and in this beautiful place, but then there will be bombings on the street, and you will see people die daily. You have to go to military. So that reality wasn't necessarily the paradise I was hoping for.
Yeah.
but which was really, such a incredible experience, kind of like to go, I would say for the first 20 years of my life, like I
Mhm.
was living in just survival mode, right? And then at some point, I was fortunate enough to discover the tech. This is where the tech boom was starting in Israel in the
Mm.
late 90s. And I just graduated college, and I knew deep inside this was the future, and this was kind of my opportunity. So I got very proficient in tech and marketing and advertising, and I got a job at a startup who later was able to offer me an opportunity in New York. And this is how I ended up here, which was kind of, I would say, my ticket to freedom. I think when I arrived in New York, it was like for the first time, I was my late 20s. For the first time, I felt home. I
Mm.
felt like I wasn't, I belong here, because in none of the places, like in Russia, I was a Jewish girl. In Israel, I was a Russian immigrant. So
Yeah.
I never like felt really truly belong. And in New York, it's everyone is from somewhere. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I think it's the only place on the planet when it's actually a cool thing to be from somewhere else.
Yeah.
People are so curious about it, and I
Yeah.
just felt at home immediately. But and just like my life just, from that moment, it just everything changed. I started to truly living. I started to truly realizing myself and thinking what I want to be. And this is where my entrepreneurial side kind of came out. And then I saw just so much opportunity working in the tech space with social media and everything that was coming out. It was around 2006, 7. I saw this huge opportunity to work with social media influencers and bloggers. So I
Wow.
ended up being, long story short, I ended up being one of the pioneers of influencer marketing space and creating a platform for fashion, beauty bloggers to
Okay.
manage then and run their businesses, which was an incredible ride. I ended up building that company from ground up, from zero, all with my own money and skill, to millions in revenue, and then selling it eventually after 8 years. And just learning so much in anything in business, marketing, how to build a software, how to sell it. I work with some of the top brands in the world. It was really, I was living this New York dream, right? This girl who came as an immigrant with literally, I think I had like a couple of $1,000s in my pocket. And here I am, in Fashion Week in New York. I'm working with all these incredible brands. I'm running a multi-million dollar company. I have a team. I work with top social media influencers, and then
Yeah.
I sold it. So everything sounds like a dream. However, I was also burning out deep inside so badly, because being a solo entrepreneur, especially as a woman, it was really hard to raise funds. I ended up building everything from by myself and bootstrapping the company. It came with immense amount of stress. Um,
Yeah.
And looking back, I don't even know how I survived, how I went from like living in a survival mode and on those difficult countries, right? Coming to New York and stepping into one of the most difficult industries, right? Like fashion, get into fashion, and then and technology as well, trying to build a tech company as a solo female founder. It's just like the amount of stress that I had to withstand was just incredible. And I don't think I ever realized or ever asked myself, how am I doing?
Yeah.
I had some practices. I had, I always practice like Kundalini yoga that I discovered early on. So it was like there for me.
Mhm.
But I never consciously kind of checked in with myself and said, okay, what is my inner journey? How am I doing in terms of my own well-being? Where am I going as a person? It never occurred to me because I think in New York, it's a wonderful place, but you also get like this mindset of ambition
Mhm.
and competitiveness and everyone, and I had this drive and I could ride the wave, but unfortunately it came a little bit at the expense of my own well-being and my own personal stress, and something had to happen to kind of knock me down and put me
Yeah.
kind of straighten my path. So it happened in the summer of 2019. And
Mm.
I remember that weekend like it was yesterday. I signed up on a retreat. And it was, and I think your listeners would love that because, I
Yeah.
mean, Phoebe, of course, you were the retreat queen. And I signed up for this retreat,
Where
and
was it?
it was actually 5 minutes away from my house because back then we decided at some point that we wanted to have a weekend house in the Hudson Valley. And we were still living in the city. I was still living my, crazy, fabulous life. But we would come here for a weekend and it would just be so different, right? And we're like surrounded by trees and there's nature. And it was this place 5 minutes away called Garrison Institute, which I
Mhm.
didn't realize, but it's one of the most incredible
Yeah.
retreat locations. And I literally signed up for this retreat, I think a day before. It was Friday to Sunday, and
Mhm.
something in me just kind of clicked the button and signed me up. I didn't know who the teacher was. I didn't know. I think it's
Yeah.
like the opposite of how people sign up for retreats, right? But I
Yeah.
just needed something and I ended up coming back that after that Sunday, and I could not come back to my old life.
Yeah.
And all it took is an incredible shamanic meditation teacher, Dr. Irene Siegel, who I'm studying with until today. Every Monday night, we have our meditation class. Now we're on Zoom, thankfully. But she took me, without any psychedelics, without anything, just pure power of meditation, and hours of meditation. She took me on journeys that just kind of reconnected me with my soul,
Mhm.
thankfully.
Yeah.
So that's the story kind of that completely shifted my path and then where I was going. And at that point, I realized, like, wait a second. First of all, I can't go back to my reality, no matter how fabulous it is. I just can't. I'm not the same person. I can't tolerate the same things. I vibrate on a different level,
Yeah.
and I had to figure out my new life, and it was very stressful. But I realized that I was in a very luxurious position to be able to take a break. And
Mhm.
instead of running from one thing to another, actually allow that space in between
Yeah.
to be. And it turned to be 2 years, which was terrifying. For 2 years to have no job title, no nothing. I was basically, at that point, I also, had two kids. I was living in suburbs because we left the city at that point. There was
Yeah.
no reason to be there. So it was just like, wait a second. I go from this kind of like high profile international fashion executive, and now I'm basically a suburban mom, has no job, no title. I'm living in the woods. I'm hiking every day. What is happening?
Yeah.
But only from that space in between, I was able to birth HEALLIST.
Yes. Oh, I just got chills. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing so much and sharing so much of your journey. And I could totally see you like going through your life and like you were saying that black and white kind of just those memories of your childhood and when you found your way to New York, all of a sudden I saw this light happening and so much movement and exciting. And I won't go too deeply into my background, but I had a similar background, just being that there was a lot of trauma and very, very different experience than you, but just a lot of trauma. And then always having this dream of getting to New York City. And when I moved there as a dancer, it was me living my dream. And very much like you, it was like, oh, I finally got to this place where I belong. And I share that because I think our stories really made us ready for something like New York City, right? Because I used to joke like New York City's like a third world country. Like you are constantly in survival mode in a very, very different way, right? Where you come with this ambition and you also get to live that dream, but there's a lot of that survival mode, that a lot of that hustle that we don't even question. There were so many years too, like you, where I didn't even know that I was a yoga teacher. I didn't even really truly know what it felt to have a regulated nervous system. I would have these pockets of time and space when I would practice my yoga and go to classes and teach for others, but I didn't really know what that was until I got into the Hudson Valley too, and had my own space in between with retreats and experiencing things. So I feel for you, and I know there's so many other people who relate to that, can relate to that on some level if they've experienced living in New York City too. It's
Totally.
wild. Yeah, it's a wild
Yes,
ride.
yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same, like you said. I was practicing yoga for years. I was going to this wonderful place called Kundalini East in the city, which one of the original Kundalini schools, and studying with, this student of Yogi Bhajan, and it was just like those incredible teachers, right? But I just felt like I had no clue what energies was and how to work with them. So
Mhm.
it's like you're sitting on this like volcano that has this lava, and you're playing with it like it's a Play-Doh. You don't realize the power that you have in your hands.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
was really fascinating how in different stages of our lives, like, we can only take as much as we can comprehend on that level,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And what you were speaking to also about this retreat, and you've actually connected me with Irene. I love that.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
she's one of
she's
my, yes,
wonderful.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. But what you said, and I just want to kind of highlight that you said you couldn't go back to your old life. And I know that a lot of people, when they have those experiences, like being on a retreat, they have this transformation and they go, uh-oh, I can't go back to my old life. And that's, you basically did that and you literally didn't. And then there was the pandemic. I guess it was about what, 6 months later, it sounds like
Yeah.
your
I
timeline.
mean, it sounds very easy, but it was actually extremely painful. I didn't go
Oh
into
no,
depth of
it's
that.
yeah, yeah, it is.
That
There's a
painful
death of you.
experience.
There's a
Yeah.
death. Yeah. Well, I would love to dig deeper into that if you don't mind sharing, because I think that's really important when people go on these experiences. And it doesn't have to be a retreat, but they have those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't go back to the way I was. And it might be like for me, it was my divorce and the death of my father that really changed the trajectory of my life. But yeah, I would love to know if you don't mind sharing what was that like and what did that feel like?
Well, the truth is at that point I still had I didn't have my company, I already sold it, but I still had a job working for the
Mhm.
company that acquired it. So
Mhm.
I had to also figure out that situation, how that departure is gonna go, and that was very complicated, to say
Okay.
the least. And it took months to sort it out. So during those months, I was literally like in between. I didn't even know who I was because you don't see into the future. And I think back then, because I didn't have regular practices. And this is something that is a huge lesson. Because listen, we all have those periods in our lives, right? When things kind of fall apart, come back together,
Mhm.
but you never see kind of where it's going, or you don't have that foresight always.
Yeah.
So the unknown is really terrifying, right? Especially when you don't have a path. When it just happened, things fall apart, but you don't know where the pieces are gonna go next. And when if you don't have regular practices and your nervous system is not regulated yet, you just it's a very difficult space to be in because you just lost. And luckily I was, like I said, I was able just to take time off and do nothing during, but when I say do nothing, it was really my work, my inner work.
Mhm.
I think in those 2 years, I read more books, I've done more like online courses, I've had more holistic practices. I tried so many different things just like to look for answers and to look for any kind of something to hold on into
Yeah.
and understand what is going on and where am I going. I think the part of where am I going was the most difficult for me because I always felt like I knew where I was going. Like I had my ambition, I had my agenda here in the city, like I had a plan. I always had a plan. And suddenly it was just terrifying to be in that space when you don't have a plan and you don't even know. You start like questioning everything because you realize like you've changed so much. You start questioning, wait a second, can I ever go back to do what I was doing? Am I gonna preserve the skills I had, or this is it? Like I'm gonna have to find myself like I don't know a new job in like landscaping or gardening because I'm just like I'm not capable anymore to be in that business world because suddenly it becomes very black and white, right? And when you're in that space and luckily I got out of it. It didn't get too dark because I was also enjoying it, right? Like I was like parts of me were okay, finally I have the freedom to do all the things I wanted to do. Oh, and I can go and like I can book a retreat in Ibiza and go there this Thursday, which I did.
Yeah.
I have many, many retreat stories, and it was like one of the most also profound experiences. I guess it's my thing. I love just booking things without knowing what they are
I
and
love it.
and
Oh, you're
writing
my
it.
ideal client. Just, yeah, just go. Just say yes. Okay, cool.
I think those are some of the most wonderful experiences you will have
Yeah.
because when we overthink things, when we overplan,
Yeah.
it's okay. You can have like still a nice experience. You can have a great vacation, but to truly throw yourself into, hey life, show me what's
Yeah.
my next thing is like you kind of have to throw yourself into the situations. And I never regretted that. I
It's
love the thrill of
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Those decisions where it was just complete intuitive hit, you just go, those are the life-changing ones, right? Those aren't the ones where you're up in your head and trying to analyze every little step and micromanage everything. Those aren't organic, those aren't divine. And it sounds like even just this retreat at the Garrison sounded like this divine guidance for you to go. And I think it's really beautiful. And I've noticed this with a lot of leaders of the new world like you. Um, there was this preparation before the pandemic, like this invitation into your own adventure that you said yes to by going on that retreat. And then you had to go through the hero's journey essentially, where your whole world has changed and you had to go through all these obstacles, but it was really for you to use all of those life experiences that you had before and all the life skills that you gained to create HEALLIST for not just for yourself to give you a path forward, but now you've opened doors for so many other people, not just the healers, but the people who are searching for the healers. And that's why I'm just so excited about you saying yes. So first of all, let's acknowledge you for saying yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you didn't just change your life, you're transforming other people's lives and giving them opportunity. And, this is something when you were speaking into HEALLIST and when I heard you that first night speaking about HEALLIST that really really made me happy to know that there's somebody like you in this world is because this is something that I've had to do on my own, right? I've been a yoga teacher for over 20 years and was a dancer too. So I had to like hustle and figure out the biz of those two worlds. And I'm grateful that I learned the skills, but I also realize that so many people in our world don't have them.
Yeah.
And it's very much like when I was hearing you speak about it, was like very divine masculine, right? The structure and the form, and the what I see is like your business running that business and the technology. And then we have that divine feminine energy, which a lot of healers sort of live in, but it's bringing them together. We really need to learn how to integrate them so that what, like you said earlier, we have to elevate this community because so many people are going through what you just went through because of the pandemic and so many other changes that are happening. Like you said, we're shifting into a whole other dimension, going beyond 3D. And a lot of people are having a lot of what the fuck moments and
Absolutely.
questioning everything. And so they need to look to people who have been there and are guides, right, to lead them to that new dimension. And so you are creating that bridge for us, right?
Exactly. I mean, you summarized it so well. And I really believe healers are the guides to this new reality. That's why their role is so important. And so if you are, no matter what healing modality you do, if you're just teaching yoga or you're doing some five-dimensional energetic healing, whatever you're doing, you have a very important role in this next transition. That space in between we are right now as a
Mhm.
global collective, this is where I think I know the healers are going to thrive and they're going to grow, and there will be more people joining the forces because more and more people are going to step on the healer path because they're going to go through their own healing experience. They're going to see the power of their thoughts, of energies. They're going to start seeing and feeling vibrations, and they would want to bring it out in the world. So, interestingly enough, for me, once I kind of realized at some point, I was also kind of trying to tie it all together. Like, wait a second, so how's my old life coming? Like, how is it relevant to my new life? Couldn't I have just gone on this path of, helping, I don't know, even yoga teachers, right, back then. But it really, at some point, it all came together because my old business was about helping content creators and influencers, right, to become the new voices. Because when I was starting, the fashion magazines ruled the industry. They ruled the
Mm,
world, right? And then the vloggers came, and then the Instagrammers came, and suddenly the powers have shifted. And
mm,
they become the new voices that represented the people that were more diverse, more inclusive. And at some point, it clicked for me. I said, oh my God, healers are the new influencers.
yeah.
They are the new influencers of this new age because people today, they care less and less about the materialistic things, about what's the latest trend in fashion, what color is the season. All of
Mhm.
that is is going away.
Yeah, it's
It's going
shifting.
away, or at least it's not going to have as much power as it used to. What
Yeah.
people care about and the type of advice and inspiration they're looking for is their all well being, is
Mm,
how to work with the energies, how to live in this new world, how to thrive, how to deal with chaos, how to heal our bodies without relying on expensive drugs, and how to deal with our anxieties and all those emotions. This is what people are interested in these days. So healers, they hold the keys. And the more you advance yourself and educate yourself and you have more tools in your toolbox, you can offer those keys to more and more people. This
mhm.
is extremely powerful position. And this is when it clicked for me.
Yeah.
It was just a magic moment. It's like, okay, I get it now. This is
Yeah.
what I'm here to do. I have to
Mm,
bring all of those things. Like I build this one industry and I build, when influencers started, and I know it's kind of like a controversial world because there's also a lot of criticism, right, about influencers.
mm,
But when it started, it was this pure movement
mm,
of really, people taking the power from some of those conglomerates, from some of those established authorities. And this is what's happening today, and it's just such a beautiful moment. But I'm here also to bring a lot of lessons that I learned from the influencer marketing space, and the ethical side of it was always something I was extremely passionate about. And preserving that pure creator light. And healers are creative people. They just work creatively with energies, right?
So true.
And so I think there's just so many parallels. And when it all clicked for me, it was just, yeah, it was just this magical moment. It's like, okay, I get it. Okay, my path does make sense.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see it, and I see that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question that came as you were speaking, because I sat yesterday with this woman, a potential client, and she was on the edge of basically has beautiful gifts of healing, but she's on this edge of maybe giving up because she has been challenged. You know, this is one of the journeys of a healer, the wounded healer, is that we have to go through our own dark night of the soul, and that shows up in so many different ways. Hers right now is the business side of things. You know, she can't, fill her experiences and her retreats, and she just said, I want to work with you, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing this, in the next month or so. So I'm curious to know, with you having this vision of HEALLIST and the future, and knowing where we're going and having that, do you have any words of advice for her and anybody else out there that you want to speak to?
I learned to love those moments in business when
Mhm.
you feel like, okay, I'm going nowhere, things are not going according to my plans, there's not enough X, Y, and Z. Those are the gold moments. Like,
Mm,
first of all, acknowledge this is my opportunity to really take a pause and re-examine everything I'm doing and be extremely truthful with yourself
yeah.
and really find out, figure out, I mean, there could be multiple things to figure out. Are there skills that are missing?
Hmm.
Um, is the direction might be need to be tweaked a little bit? Is there new ideas I can bring to the table to infuse energy in that and work with it energetically? I work with my business energetically all the time. This is the most exciting part of the work. You have the skills to think about it as energetic being. What does this
Yeah.
being need right now? Where is it lacking? Or is it me that is not working with this being in a relationship that it deserves? Maybe it's my own limiting beliefs or whatever is stopping me, some blocks that I still need to maybe go back to school and work
Yeah.
out and then come back to it. But it's really a golden opportunity. I got to tell you, even recently, and we have those opportunities in business all the time because
Mm,
it's never a straight line, right? It's like this
yeah.
famous chart that the business grows like this,
I know. I know it too
right?
well.
I mean, but this is the moments that really truly test you. And like one of the things, like if anything I learned from my life is resilience, right? You want
Hmm.
to really like push me and test me, bring me that hard moment, and I'm gonna crack the code and I'm gonna solve it. And I had it on just recently, just last month. I hit something. I had one area in the healers business that I felt like I couldn't crack, and something was missing. And I went to a deep surrender. I doubled down on my meditations. I doubled down on my personal work, and I was really truthful with myself. What is working? What is not working? And I tried like every single I saw all of my guides and psychics, like not just the five-dimensional ones, the real people, right? Because you need
Yeah.
that reflection.
Yeah.
And I got the most profound download just a few weeks ago about something that I couldn't crack for the longest time. And now I'm energized. I have this new vision that I'm pursuing that is like totally going to take us to a new direction. But this was exciting challenge to solve. I didn't
Hmm.
say like, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's not working. Let's just leave that and go do something else. I'm like, bring it on. I want to solve this challenge. Like give it to it's such a satisfaction. I mean, is there anything sweeter than having something like that in your life that you've overcome and you really work through and then you came out a different person, a stronger person, a smartest business person. It's just it's so worth it. So like
Mhm.
work with it. Like that's how I roll. Like work with it. Now don't be
I I roll like that too, Yuli. And it's interesting. I love your initial response was to look at it from that business perspective, but what you immediately brought in was that energy. And I think that's something that you can help, and I'm hoping that I help people with too, is because I think a lot of healers they go business, ooh, they cringe because they feel it's salesy and ooh, it doesn't feel in alignment. But then what you just immediately did was like, how do we work with those energies? So you're bringing in what it is that they already work with, right? They work with their energy
yes,
and
use your own
the
tools.
yeah, and but they're using and how do you bring that energy into the business side, those places because what I have seen too with healers and guides is that because they usually have been wounded in some way, the wounded healer journey, because if they haven't really dealt with the trauma, and they utilize I have said to them that you tend to go up into those upper realms as an escape. It's you have a lot of gifts up here, but you need to bring it down into that 3D and what you do so well. And I like to think that I do as well because we're like, okay, what do we need to do here right now, right? With your business or this actual, challenge, like you said. But it hasn't been integrated yet. And so when you see something that feels icky, it triggers that trauma and then they escape again into that and it doesn't feel good. And so it's that I hate to say that, but it's like they use that excuse it's not in alignment. But what I feel when you were just speaking into it is, well, how do we work the energy to bring it into alignment? Like what can I do here to bring it into alignment so it's not outside of myself that it's out of alignment. It's like I have the power to work that energy to bring it into alignment, right?
Absolutely. And I think just like having this basic knowledge that you have the power to
Mhm.
be whoever you want to be.
Mm.
It's we all have like saying something like I don't have the business skills, you're basically separating yourself right
Yeah.
there from
Yeah.
the potential. And we all have that potential. And like
Mhm.
listen, I think it's not just the wound, it's also the system created
Mhm.
a lot of limited beliefs for
Yeah.
people and for women especially and for solo entrepreneurs and small businesses, right? There's so many kind of barriers that were created by the system. Like you can be
Mm.
either that or that. You can be business, you can be genuine and be marketing yourself. You can be a successful healer and earn more money and stay authentic and true to yourself. Right, all of those beliefs. This has been like generations of buildup,
Yes.
right? So we have to go through a lot.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't have it in your lineage or your past lives, whatever, you come to this world to a
Yeah.
system that is built like that. And
Yeah.
that's what you've been taught your whole life.
Yeah.
So it's really up to us to start questioning. That's why I think the inner work is so important in this case. It's up to us to question, wait, is this my belief? Or was it something that I heard once my aunt who was kind of a psychic reader, she always said that and it's just kind of like engraved in me, right? And
Yeah.
just like we have to just be more in alignment, I guess, with what is like our truth,
Yeah.
right? Versus something that was just kind of inherited or put on us by other people. And I think that's like the hardest part to just do it. It's like a constant work. You're constantly sorting through your thoughts. Like, wait, is this mine,
Yeah.
not mine? Mine, not mine, right? So I think
Yeah.
a lot of people get on that trap. Like, this is not, this is hard, but we're put into that trap.
Hmm. Yeah. The word I just kept hearing when you were speaking was accountability. It's like we have to hold accountability for our own alignment. Yeah.
you can be aligned. You can be an incredible successful healer. You can be a brilliant business person. You can be a brilliant marketer. There's
Yeah.
no, I mean, the shame around it, you know, the lack of confidence around those skills, the made up complexity. There's also stories that, you know, business is just too hard. It's only for businessmen,
Yeah.
right? Just
Hmm.
like watch the terms that we use. And you know, when I got into business because I had no choice, right? I was an immigrant. I was trying to build my life in New York. I started this business, like I had no choice. I had to succeed. So I had to teach myself a lot. And once you know, I had to learn accounting because I just couldn't afford accounting. I need to run a basic
Yeah.
book system, right? And once I learned that, I was like, wait a second, that's actually not that hard. You know, I was told all my life, like, oh, you're creative, you're this, you're that. But
Hmm.
actually, this makes total sense. This is once you shift that perspective. So, a lot of things that your mind tells you are difficult or are not you. This is just a trap. So, watch out for those.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I've definitely nerded out on QuickBooks. I'm like, I had this resistance to like, oh, I don't want to do the numbers. And then all of a sudden I sat down, I'm like, oh, I really like this.
Right? It like organizes your whole life, automatically pulls all of your transactions. Like this is magical tool. What are you talking about? This tool is like
Yeah.
completely so not to endorse QuickBooks directly, but like
No,
any
no.
tool that
But
you
I
know does
will
work.
but I
Yeah.
will endorse another magical tool, HEALLIST. Can you go a little bit deeper into, like you mentioned it about how it you can set up your business within 5 minutes. Can you go a little bit more into that and speak, yeah, to our friends who are healers out there?
Sure. Oh, that's my favorite. I mean, that whole journey of designing the software was just such a passion project of mine because actually the way I designed because I knew okay once I realized I want to bring my all of my skills technology marketing you know all together into the healing space the next question was okay what do we build
Yeah.
there's so many things there's so many ways you can go about it so many tools you can build some tools already in the market you know where do I really fit and it really actually the product designed itself very naturally because I started working back to Irene and my retreat story
Mhm.
because I was literally for 2 years I was trying to figure out myself and what do I do with all this new awakening I just started working with her I asked Irene can I help you what do you need anything and tech or marketing. I have all those skills. I'm doing nothing. I don't even know who I am anymore. You changed my life. Can I help you?
Oh, I love that.
So we started chatting, and through just those conversations and then chatting with other healers too, I realized all the pain points that they're going through and how many
Mhm.
different platforms they had to run
Yes.
and learn different tools with different user interfaces, with different just setup just to run their practice. Because if someone is doing selling one-on-one sessions, but also group classes and does workshops and all that, they have to use and wants to process payments online and wants to teach online and wants to have a presence. You're talking about anywhere between like 5 to 10 different tools that you have to
Yeah.
use. Right, you have to build your website. You have to
Yeah.
figure out then plug in your booking system, plug in payments
Yeah.
I mean, you can't expect that from an average healer.
Yeah.
And very few people in the space are in a position to hire somebody to
Yeah.
set it up for them. But I wouldn't even know who to hire for this position, right? Because it's such a like specific setup. So this is where it hit me that why does it have to be so complicated? And you know, if we could just combine all those tools into one platform that is so user friendly that a person who resists tech with their blood go in and actually enjoy the process, right, of setting up their business. This was kind of the goal, right?
Yeah.
So it took me actually months to fine tune the design and the onboarding and really perfect that first experience when someone signs up on HealList and the first thing they do, they create their business page.
Hmm.
Because really, I mean, building websites, and listen, it's nice to have a fancy website that tells your story, has pretty pictures, but most people are just terrified just by the idea of building their website.
Hmm.
Because, and not just the technical part, just the thought of what do I put on the homepage? How do I
Yeah.
talk about myself? And they're just so many, they
Yeah.
becomes this like paralysis of thought
Hmm.
because it's so hard to describe yourself, to describe what you do. So what my techie analytical brain wanted to do is really simplify that process. We're going to walk you through those steps. You're going to answer all those questions. And in 5 minutes, we're going to create your professional business page. And
Yeah.
it's going to have all information your clients need in order to consider booking services with you. It's going to have your picture, your links, your modalities, your location, um, your bio, your certificates, the languages you speak. What else do we have? Conditions you help people with, and it's going to have your menu of services
Yeah.
because people need, and I know it's like oversimplifying the beautiful gifts of healers, but
Yeah.
people want to see a menu of services and they want to
Yeah.
say, okay, this is it, this is that, and this is how much it costs, and this is the commitment. And I want to be able to pick one. I want to book it in 2 clicks. I want to pay for it. And I want to be done. This is what clients want. They want ease. So the idea was to create this one page that healers can just share with potential clients, and clients can easily just understand what they do and book a service. I know it
Yes.
sounds simple, but actually it took so much kind of like back end to simplify that process
I get it.
and create that page that will be, you don't need technical knowledge, you just answer a few questions, you fill up your things, boom, you're in business. And then, from a client perspective, just to have that experience of, okay, I can easily book. I don't have to text or call or message this person,
Yeah.
ask about their services, ask about their rates. I can just go in, book, and for private sessions, they can also see a live calendar. So since the launch, we also did a lot of integrations because the idea was to bring all the tools together. So your
Yeah.
Google Calendar can be plugged in, so when someone books an appointment, it can double check your availability. We have now Zoom integration. So if you want to plug your own Zoom, you can use our system, our native system that works perfectly fine. But if you want to have your own Zoom, you can plug that Zoom. And then, when a client books appointment, everyone just gets one email. Here's your appointment confirmation. Everything is paid for. Here's your Zoom link. You get a
Yeah.
reminder an hour before. That's it. It's like easy. It's the flow, It's like I wanted to
Yes.
create something that was really flowing and didn't need people to feel, or hopefully didn't have that terrified, that
Hmm.
cringy feeling when you signing up for a new tech and you have to figure out now, what do I do with this? So far it's been like really getting amazing response, and just watching people. I still do a lot of kind of like my own onboardings when I watch people play with the platform, just so fascinating. And people they would spend like a couple hours on a platform just like perfecting their page, their profile. You don't
Yeah.
have to, you can do it. But people actually enjoy that process of adding services and playing with the page. So that's the tech, and we continue to build all the time. We have an incredible team that is just adding new features. Like we're about to release our integration with PayPal and Venmo next month, which is going to be another big, exciting integration again, which is going to really continue to bring more tools into one. So you
Mhm.
have one account, you have one dashboard, you can go in
Wonderful.
and everything is there.
That's awesome. I
Mm.
love it. I love it.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Julie. Is there anything else that we should share about your story or HEALLIST
Mm.
before we start to wrap up?
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't realize the
I
time
know.
runs
I
so
want to talk
fast.
to you forever. I know. It's
One,
amazing.
thank you. One thing I wanted to mention that we also do a lot of events. I think we started with our community event. So not everyone who's local to Hudson Valley, but we also do a lot of virtual circles. So every Tuesday at noon Eastern time, we host a virtual healer circle. So come join us. It's just that safe space we do a little quick group meditation. We share, we network. We feature a different practitioner every month that wants to share their practice. it's just amazing, like safe space to connect. And then we do also workshops. So like this month we have a prosperity workshop. We have amazing experts that just come to us and say, we want to teach healers, like give us a free
Yeah.
workshop. So it's been amazing. Like we launched the workshop format, people just coming to us, right? They
Yes.
want to teach different things. So any kind of like business skills. So we have those workshops as well every month. And lastly, we also started giving away grants to healers. So we launched something that's called the fellowship program. So we did one in January, another one coming up in April. So we're going to be doing more of that because we really want to support healers, not just with tools, but with actual funds as well. And there's a bigger vision there, which I'm not going to touch now, but there is also like a proper foundation in the works that will
Yeah.
provide even more grants because I think it's something, yeah, healers need a lot more support than just tools and events. I
Mhm.
think funding is one of the areas that I do hope to kind of add to our mission and work with that as well. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
just been really, so grateful for this journey
Mhm.
and grateful for meeting people like yourself that are just, so aligned. Speaking of alignment.
Yes. I do. I feel very aligned. I've been sad that I have been misaligned the last few months to not be in more involved, but I was just saying I'm committed to being more aligned and looking forward to collaborating with Healist and you and supporting
Yes.
you all. And I was just sharing about Healist in our Nomad Guides session yesterday, so I think you'll see some new faces soon there
Yay.
from our
I'm very
guide.
excited. I can't wait to connect with more people and help more people and just, bring this mission of business skills, just elevate the industry. It's beautiful to watch too.
Yeah. So we'll have all of the links in our show notes, but can you tell people who are listening now and maybe driving, where can they find you and connect with you and get more information
Please.
on your list?
Yes, yes. So healless.com with two L's and follow us on Instagram as well. It's heal underscore list. And then we also have a podcast, which Phoebe was a guest on as
Yes,
well. So So it was really, I had so many great responses to that episode. We talked about hosting retreats and the business of retreats, which I love that subject. So I bring on usually either people from the business world who kind of bring in fresh perspective into the healing world, or I interview some healers who are really abundant and they kind of share their secrets. So those are usually our guests. So please also find the HEALLIST podcast on Spotify, Apple, and all the major platforms. And yeah, please stay connected. Healing community is incredible. I just love everyone that I meet on my journey so far. So please connect.
Thank you so much for being here, Yuli. And again, thank you so much for saying yes to your adventure and bringing all of the gifts that you bring to the healing community. It's just, yeah, very, very grateful for you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.